Oh, yes. It's Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Northern Route Traveler. Beer time. I hope you can hear that. Over pouring like I'm always doing. Let's just start off by drinking a good Norwegian traditional inspired beer. And it's not only traditions, at least not farmhouse traditions. So, welcome to the better part of the weekend, everybody. And it's Friday. I'm excited. Looking forward to reading these magazines for plenty of reasons. Looking forward to drinking this beer. It's from Bygland Bryggeri. I have a couple of videos with them on the channel. We are talking about this beer in in one of them actually. This is a Knepa, or it's not a Knepa though, but it is. It's a Quake raw New England IPA. So that's a mouthful for you. So it's like it's an IPA with Quake, and it's also raw. Not that wild these days, but when it came out a couple of years ago, it was something new, and it's a commercial beer, so it's totally something new. But over to something else, I guess. So, cheers. Friday. Ha. That's pretty good, or it's more than pretty good, I guess. Equinox, Citra, Mosaic. I'm gonna be a little hard on them for not writing which Quake strain they have used or culture, I hope, but I think it's a strain. But anyways, as traditional you can get, and farmhousey at the same time, I guess. So, how are you guys? Everybody doing good? Doing good? Doing great. As I said, I'm a little over the top excited perhaps today. I'm building my brew house these days and using all of my energy on picking up all I need for a brew house and building and doing what a man can do and taking care of my family. So now everybody's to bed and it's time to do some magazining. I hope the weekend did you good. And I really hope you're not here to talk about the cold IPA heats up. I'm not going to talk about that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's just dig into it, I guess. We're going to talk about the dark side of beers today. And as usual, when I talk about the dark side, everybody thinks like, okay, so we're going to talk about porter, about stouts, about imperial stouts. But nay, there's an even darker side to beer brewing. And I'm not talking about sour beers because the sour beers are getting more and more recognition. Jürgen, hey. I'm just talking about your beer. The dark side of beer and brewing. And one of the beer styles that hasn't got the recognition I think it should. So let's see. Let's just dig into it. I haven't told you the beer style yet, but some of you perhaps know already, or can guess at least. Luckily for me, none of my cameras really can pick this up. They're too bad, but it's Charles Öl. And that's funny because you're in game. So let's see what Lars Marius and Craft Beer and Brewing magazine has to say about the dark side of beer and brewing. And that's Charles Öl, if you didn't get that. Or smoked ales, Rauch beer and stuff. Doom! Yeah, let's a little more beer first. I have a Charles Öl just down below here, but I'm gonna enjoy that while I take a deeper reading afterwards, I guess. So let's see. I'm gonna put it over here so I don't just push it out. I really enjoy reading these magazines. Let's just say one thing first, because I was not totally finished talk about Bygland. Because 2 months ago, or 2 issues ago, Torkjell had an article about him in this magazine. I've talked about it before, but if you haven't checked it out, you better go and check it out. And as I said before, if you're into and want both to support my channel and what I'm doing here, you can check out the Patreon. I have a Patreon link below. I have some recipes, and the recipes are for everybody. You don't need to become a Patreon member to see my recipes, but yeah, it would help out. Here it is, link below. But what I was really thinking about was I have a craft beer and brewing magazine offer for you in the description below. And that also means you can buy all the issues like this one. So that out of the way, let's dig into it. Yeah. Let's see. IPA. Yada, yada, yada. Oh! Cover boy! Almost, though. This is Roar Sandholden. That's funny, because next week I'm gonna have a little video coming out with him. So there he is. Looking good. 16. And here it is. Style School, Charles Öl. That's funny. Make your best wheat beer and Rauch beer. Yeah, that's a good combination, I guess. So let's go by 16. There is always geeking a little out on seeing his picture in this magazine, because I really was a reader of this magazine before he was writing for it. Looky here. Lars Marius Garshol transport us to Ritual, Central Norway, where cooperative developed brewers make an intense type of local ale from their own home-malted, home-smoked malts. And yeah, we're talking about really the backbone of the tradition of Charles Öl. As some of you perhaps know, Chardon are also famous for making their own malts, and that's really what makes it so unique in so many ways. So let's dig. People think of Bamberg, Germany, as the capital of smoked beer. However, if measured by the numbers of brewers, this is a locally the massive outtake. The area boasts more than 400 brewers of smoked beer. And you gotta check out the map and find Jordan and find how big it is. Because 400 brewers is crazy. Back when the farmers brew brew their own beer, they all use their own malt and grains. This means that meant that as long as they had enough grain left over to eat, the beer was excessively free. The downside was that they had to malt their own grain, which they did in numbers of ways. Yeah, and as you will see in some of my next videos, I will be talking more to Jørund and Roar. I have two videos coming this month from my visit to Stjørdal last year. And we will be talking about some of this. Because Stjørdals øl are really amazing in so many ways. I think people often think about smoked malts, and that's it. And I just miss out the whole point of the beer. So after 3 days of soaking, yeah, because Lars Marius talks about 3 days in the brook and 3 days in the sack, the germination phase of malting. Not gonna talk about that now. You're gonna see it later this month. The modern version is blah 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 blah. In the middle of the front of the soin. Yeah. And here you see the malt kiln. There are a level of planks just above here. That's what you see in these pictures. And this is Roar's soin, and he's talking about kjerringa. He translated it to the woman. I disagree, but okay, kjerringa. And that's where you put the wood, because it's open in here. I don't know if there's a better picture. No. Okay, but you gotta see it later, because that's the backbone. The malts are really the backbone of this beer. And that's what makes it really unique, because brewers in Stjørdal and Stjørdals malters has done this for at least 1,000 years. They found archaeological founds with planks that was identically as the same as Jørund has and Roar has. And that's really crazy. I really mean it. I think it's something people really tend to oversee when I think about smoked beers. And okay, so I don't like cigarettes in my beer, so I don't like it. But before you have tasted it, there's at least 500 other things you should think about as the tradition, as how authentic it is, and how it really, yeah, it's really something different. And the farmhouse styles in Norway, Stjørdals øl is the one that separates itself mostly from the others, and that's much because of the malt. They are the only ones that still uses 100% their own malts that they made. And in the same way with the soin that you see here, they use older wood, and that gives it a really good aroma and taste. But also it older wood is not that good for heating, so it's not that hot. It doesn't burn that well, so it gives it a lot of good tastes. And it's really unique, I think, because Rauchbier is often dried with, or the malts are really dried with birch, I think. And we have that in Norway also, somebody that has been using birch. But in Stjørdal, They use older wood. Okay, so Stjørdal's Odd Smoky Ale. Most beer enthusiasts have tried German drought beer and maybe some modern smoked porters and stouts, as they think they know smoked beer. However, Stjørdals Øl, the smoked farmhouse ale of Stjørdal, is a different beast. Commercial breweries use commercial malts produced under the carefully controlled circumstances. That's also reflected in the flavor of commercial beer, which is similar controlled. Stjørdals Øl is different. ... As a beer made from malts that has not been produced that way, its flavors can be shocking. The smokiness is intense. German drought beer is mild in comparisons. There we have it, boys. German drought beer can be mild in comparisons. Cheers. Ooh. You're gonna see you have to see the color of this beer. Let's see. Hold den glasset. Skål. That's a funny thing about the Norwegian beer monopoly. They can have beer standing a little long on their shelves. But okay. Yeah, Rauch beer is smoked with beechwood. But in Stjørdal, they use only older. Okay, so he now uses at least 5 words that I can't even pretend to know how to pronounce. Blah, blah, blah. Barn-like flavors, notes, surprisingly flavors, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and he mentioned that the way they are malting also can give unexpected flavors that you don't find in commercial beers. That's no surprise for those of you who have tasted Stjørdals Øl. When tasting a new Stjørdals Øl, you never really know what you're going to get. Some are amazingly smooth, with expertly crafted smoked profiles that start mild, then fade out perfectly. Others are rites of smoky madness and that send carnival processes of barnyard, vanilla fudge, male sweat, lingonberries, and butter through your mouth. Of course, you can get anything between those extremes. As I said, that's something different. Yeah. Communication of the kiln. That's the sewing. People in Stjørdal still makes their own malts for 2 main reasons. The first and most obvious is that it doesn't do it. It is that they don't do it this way. The beer would be totally different. You simply can't buy this type of malts. No, you can't. But you can. But you can only buy it from the brewers themselves. I know Jørund sells some of his malts. I have like 23 kilos in my basement, going strong. Roar also does it. He does it through brewshop.no here in Norway, so you can buy it and get it sent to you. I know that it's also commercial, more traditional maltery in America, that's USA, that also has it. Stjørdal's type of malting, malt. Yeah. I'm gonna talk more about that later. I know that he visited Jørund and visited other people in Stjørdal to make the malts himself at home and really know how to do it. So that's cool. Okay. The second reason that is that a Norwegian law adopted in 1912 during the run-up to alcohol prohibition, which forbid homebrewing except from homemade malts. That prevented homebrewers from taking off in the towns, but it did little to discourage farmers who always malted their own malts anyway. And yeah, as Björn said, Bonsak has. Yeah, the smoked malts from Bonsak are really good. They use the Soinhus at Hegra. What is it called again? Yeah, doesn't matter. They use a little different way of doing it. I think they first germinated, then dry it, then smoke it. That's different from Jørund's and the traditional brewers method. And of course, because Bonsak malts are commercial malter here in Norway that really can't take do the same process because it's extremely time consuming. I know Jørund uses 24 hours to dry his malts. Roar has sometimes 36 hours with several turnings of the malts, and you got to be there and fill in and fire it up and keep the fire going, and it's a job. Let's just say I have never done it. I have not been that fortunate. Jørund also mentioned that Bonsak doesn't make Stjørdals malt, but they make smoked malts. But no, I agree. They doesn't make Stjørdals malt. But it's inspired by it, I guess. Some difference is the malting process, as I said, and the drying process. Yeah, this type of malting requires a separate building from the soil because everything reeks of smoke, and that's a risk of fire, as I said or didn't say. We're going to talk about it next later this month. The Soinhus, the house where the soin is, the kiln house, if you want. Of course, that because the fire of another risk of fire and everything. And he's talking about there was a period where when malters had a little downer and didn't malt that much because the Soinhus was expensive to keep and vedlikeholde. Yeah, doesn't matter. Then in the 1980s, a group of brewers got together and formed an association to cooperatively own a kiln building. This meant that maybe 10 people could share the cost, upkeep, and use of the building. Upkeep, of course, was a word I was looking for just before. Yeah, and social gatherings too. The idea spread, and today there are 44 Soinhus, kiln clubs, soin co-ops, basically in Stjørdal, each with an average member of 10 members. Some people also buy malts, so that the total number of Stjørdals brewers is above 400, and that's pretty crazy. And as I said before, Stjørdal has the biggest density of traditional farmhouse brewers, as we know, in Europe. Because of this, 400 people. Yeah, the method of Charlesøl. Many of the brewers use their own smoked malts, but also buy and use portion of commercial pale ale, pale malts. Sorry. Traditionally, they also used both hops and juniper branches. However, some Shiraz brewers have started omitting one or both of them to put emphasizes more firmly on the malt, and that I heard before. Um, some of them said that okay, we just put in a couple of branches of junipers. It's a little more like tradition or something we just do instead of making an impact on the taste, because they really wanted one thing to shine and one thing only, and that was the malts. They really, and that's not wondering. I guess if you use 36 hours just to dry it, you better taste it. The brewing process varies somewhat, but the most common way is to stir a little cold water into the malts the evening before brewing and leaving it overnight. Yeah, now Jørund does it like this. Jørund makes raw ale, and not everybody does that. And Roar, he boils this. So there are really more diversity in Charlesøl when it comes to techniques and other ways to do it, but they're really firm on one thing, and that's the malts. This method is well suited for getting most of the homemade malts, which typically are poorly modified and less efficient than commercial malt. Malting was never big industry in Norway. Yeah, because he mentioned that Norwegian barley varieties have been bred for agriculture and not for brewing. The beer is boiled or unboiled with cause very notable difference in taste. Yeah, he also said that because it has so strong character of smoked malts, the difference between raw ale and boiled doesn't seem that significant. Yeah, he knows best, I guess. I don't know. I really like the raw ale version, but perhaps just being romanticized and think about it as tradition, I guess. Many brewers add sugars or syrups, seeing it as a way of increasing the strength without further intensifying the smoked aromas, or as a way to dial down the smoke just a bit. For fermentation, most of the brewers use a Norwegian type of baking yeast from the supermarket, and it works remarkably well. And it really does. Idunblå and the baker's yeast here in Norway, excellent. It's really good for this type of beer. I think that's some of the reason why they haven't found yet their own malt yeast. Sorry, farmhouse yeasts, because there was a point in history when it was so easy to get Idunblå, baker's yeast from the grocery store, that it just took over, and people stopped using their own farmhouse variants, and the whole business with taking care of yeast is it can be a hassle. So I understand that. Also, I heard E. Sedal, commercial brewery in Trøndelag in Trondheim. also said that every brewer that wanted free yeasts from them could get it. That also did something with their traditional farmhouse yeast, I guess. That's just speculation on my front. Just so you know, everything is just speculations on my front. I don't know anything. Yet again, he mentioned that brewers in Stjørdal place most of emphasis on the malting. They say that if you have good malts, you can hardly fail to make good beer. Finding Stjørdalsøl is not the easiest thing to do. At Norsk Kornølfestival, he calls it Norwegian Farmhouse Ale Festival, you can usually try a few variants. There are basically just two on sale commercially. Klostergården Alstaberger, Clean, Magnificence, blah blah blah, and Stolt Røyklagt. You can also, that's 2 beers if you wondered. You can also visit the Granås farm in Stjørdal. He will sell it to you legally. Yeah, because he has løyve. Yeah. So there's a traditional brewer that can sell it from his farm. However, if you really want to try a large number of authentic samples, there's only one way. Go to central Stjørdal, then walk about 20 minutes out of town into the forest, up the hills. There's a forest cabin. About 30 or 40 brewers will turn up once a year and share samples of their beer for free with each other and anyone who turns up. And I think that's a bad number. 30 or 40 are a little too little, because that's something that I talked about with Jørund and Roar at my last visit, but you will find out in the video coming. But I think it's been more and more popular, and more of the brewers that always have made the beer and now seem to want to go out and try other people's Stjørdalsøl and daring to take their own with them. So I think it's typically more than 30 to 40 brewers, and it's now more than one place. I know it's a place where Roar lives, and same with Jørund. Okay, there is more, but I don't know this guy. Wherever you find older smoked malts, Stjørdalsøl level up on smoke. Here you got that's funny. Here's a Colorado farm brewery that's gonna give us a Stjørdalsøl recipe. It's not that bad. Chico or something, yeah. So Denver our mutual friend produces dark, heavily smoked, strong Stjørdals inspired ale each winter. That's cool. And it's a podcast as well with Jan. I'm not gonna butcher his name, of mutual friends. That's funny. Has he visited Stjørdal? Yeah, they did. We visited Stjørdal together in 2017. They watched as local brewer Børge kiln his barley over a smoke roll, blah blah blah, get together and brew their own Stjørdals. That's good. I really think that people tend to go to Stjørdal and visit. I think that's at least 2 reasons why people do that. For my own sake, people are very eager to meet up, and when I was up there, Jørund gave me a guide around Stjørdal, and was really open and just wanted to share his knowledge and the culture. And that's really something special. I think that's why also we can find now that it's more and more people going to Stjørdal and meeting up and checking out the culture. And I think that's really one of the things that does come in and help the culture, and why people go there. The other thing is that it's really surprisingly close to Trondheim. Trondheim is third, second. Oh, that's embarrassing. Largest city in Norway. That'll be second. I hope second. Fuck Bergen. So let's see this recipe. 7,5 kilo, 7.5 kilos Stjørdal style older wood smoked malts. That's funny because there's apparently two then that has Stjørdal's inspired malteries. Heller Towel Magnum at first wort. That's pretty decent. Doesn't taste anything. But these guys doesn't use any type of junipers. It probably wouldn't taste the difference anyway. But he says he uses Chico. That's double V White Labs 001 or the US 05. I know some Stjørdal's brewers also use that same one, or British Ale 007 from White Labs. These guys boil. But yeah, you should try his local baking yeast, I think. More? I don't think so. Ooh, here it is. There are the American amerikanske kjerringa. American woman, if you want. And of course, a guy in bodies. Yeah, he talks about the recipe. Yeah, that's funny. Don't stress too much, he says, because it already is a variable product to begin with in Norway. Let's see his first name again. Let's get his first name. Jan. I'm not gonna butcher his last name. He says blah 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 blah. It's not far-fetched, since Stjørdal's Øl is very much a DIY homebrewing project by tradition. And I agree with that. Good. Love to agree. Fish beers. Okay, so it's two different types of maker best, of course. Or is it? No, they have a Rauch beer in here as well. I last year said that 2022 was the year of Rauch and smoked beers. Hasn't all fallen that good, but from the last two craft beer and brewing magazines, there's two articles on Rauch beer, and now a Stjørdal's Øl, Stjørdal's Oppskrift. We're getting there, people. So, as always, thumbs up. just to talk a little on that, how we are gonna go from here. I think that we are gonna see more from the channel in the future. This channel, I'm gonna make more, publish more. I'm gonna do some more interviews and a little more low key, so I manage in my life to get it done. And sometimes that's the most important part, I guess. So as always, if you like the content, give it a boop. And as I said, you can find me on Patreon. And yeah, say hi. Hello. So that's all for today, people. Issue August, September 2022. I'm out. Happy Friday. Boom.